Okay, well, tonight's program is going to be on Maundy money. I don't know how many of you are members of the ANA, but if you are and you've gotten your recent issue of the Numismatist magazine, you may have seen the article in there on Maundy money. And so a lot of this may be repetitious to you, but at least the pictures aren't. Because I picked all these pictures off of the internet, and they are not the same pictures that were in the article. So, even if you did read that article, there may be some items of interest in here that you don't know. Collectors of coins from Great Britain and foreign coin collectors may know a good bit about Maundy money. It was Maundy comes from the word Maundy Thursday, or the term Maundy Thursday, which I know not very many people in the United States know that Holy Thursday is called Maundy Thursday in Britain. But the name is derived from the Latin word called mandatum, which means commandment. And it refers to Jesus's commandment at the Last Supper to love one another as I have loved you, as he washed their feet as a reminder of their obligation to serve their fellow men. So that's where the term Maundy Thursday or Maundy money comes from. It's from Maundy Thursday. Now, there's a ceremony that they have in Great Britain, and they've been having this ceremony for a good many years. It even predates this one here. The ceremony has been was held as early as the 600s in Great Britain, but money was not given away at the ceremony until 1210. When King John selected 13 poor people, and he gave each one of them a silver penny. And this silver penny was a coin of the realm that was, struck with his image on it, or at least his name. I don't know if I don't have a picture of this coin, and there's probably no one knows exactly what that coin was at this point in time. So the ceremony continued to be held by the king, with the king's blessing. He was not always there, but it was held by the members of the clergy in the king's name. In 1362, King Edward II was the first sovereign to perform the foot washing ceremony. And I think there also money was distributed at that point also. He began distributing also gifts of food and clothing. And Henry IV, between 1399 and 1413, decreed that the number of coins, the number of pence handed out, would equal the monarch's age. So if the monarch was 50 years old, they selected 50 poor people and gave out 50 silver pence to each one of the poor people. In 1662, and all these coins that were given out previous to this point in time were just regular coins that were struck for regular commerce. And in 1662, the first official Maundy money was produced by Charles II, and that's who we saw that picture of on the first page, and we'll see that again. That was Charles II. So they still have this ceremony. It's gone down through the centuries. Today's ceremony lasts about an hour. They have Bible verse readings sandwiched around distribution of the coins. Two purses of coins are handed out, one red purse and one white purse. They're leather purses, and they're given by the Queen to a number of recipients that are now chosen by the muckety mucks in the church you know, chosen for their good deeds. They have to be 65 years of old, 65 years of age, and they have, you know, they're chosen by the members of the Anglican Church, you know, for good deeds that they've done for their community. The white purse contains a set of the Maundy coins, and the red purse contains a 5-pound coin and a 50p coin, and I've got here regular coinage, but it's commemorative coinage. It's one of the commemorative coins that's produced by the British Mint in lieu of the traditional gifts of food and clothing that had been made in the past. Here's the Queen from 2017, and you can see she's got a white purse and a red purse in her hands, and she's getting ready to give it to this lady right here. Here is the reverse of a set of Maundy coins: 1 pence, 2 pence, 3 pence, and 4 pence, and these were dated 2014. And that is the only way that this particular set of coins is made. They're produced for the Maundy ceremony. They don't sell them to the public. The only way you can get them at this point in time is to receive a set from the Queen at this ceremony. So the numbers are very low being made at the present time, less than 1,000.
Wow.
And here's the Maundy set again. They come in little plastic sleeves. And here are also the other coins. This is a 5-pound commemorative coin. This particular coin was the centenary of the House of Windsor in 2017. And the flip side was a celebration of the engagement of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And this is also a commemorative 50-pence coin. And I'm not sure exactly what this one commemorates, but these are the pouches that were given away by the Queen in 2017. So we're going to go through the different monarchs that had sets of these coins specially made for handing out at the ceremony. As we said before, Charles II was the first one that had special Maundy coins made. He was the eldest surviving son of Charles I, who came to an ignoble death in 1649 when he was beheaded by Oliver Cromwell and his cronies. But after Cromwell died, they had the restoration of the monarchy. So they got Charles II, who was the son of Charles I, to assume the throne. And he was called the Merry Monarch, and he was a backer of religious freedoms for both Catholics and Protestant dissenters. And one of the reasons that he popularized the Maundy ceremony was to, gain favor with his people. And he attended every Maundy ceremony from 1662 to I got 1885. This should be 1685 up here. For his, 20-something years in a row, he attended the ceremony. And even when they were having a plague, he was still at the ceremony. Interesting thing is he had 12 illegitimate children, but no legitimate heirs. So when he died, his brother assumed the throne. But anyhow, what's that? Somebody say something? Nope. Okay. But anyhow, Charles this was the first set of coins that he had made. They were undated, hammered coins. There's no date on them. These Roman numerals here are the number, it's the denomination: 1 pence, 2 pence, 3 pence, 4 pence. They are made out of sterling silver. And as I said, they were hammered coins. These were not machine-made coins. These were hammered. And here's another close-up of one of these hammered coins, and you can tell it's got an irregular edge and So you can tell it's been hit more than one time, and so they weren't very very evenly struck, these hammered coins. Here is a machine struck coin that was produced a few years later, 1677, and this is a 4-pence coin, and there is not the numeral 4 does not appear on this coin either in Arabic numerals or Roman numerals, but there are 4 C's on the 4-pence coin. There are 3 on the 3-pence, 2 on the 2-pence, and just a single C on the 1-pence coin. That's how you tell the denomination on these. But as I said, these are machine struck coins, and you can tell it's a little bit rounder, a little bit better struck than those other hammered coins. So here's Charles again, and I'm going to show the picture of each monarch next to their coins, and we can rate them as to how well the engraver has done a job of duplicating the face of the monarch. And I think he's done a pretty good job with this nose right here. So that's Charles I's coin. James II was the next monarch. He was the brother of Charles II, and he was the last Catholic monarch of England. Now, his brother was a Protestant. James is a Catholic. And at this time in England, there was a lot of strife between the Catholics and the Protestants. And that was one reason why James and Charles's father, Charles I, was beheaded, was because over religion. So James reigned only for 3 years because he was trying to push his Catholic faith to the forefront over the Protestant faith, and he was deposed. He's lucky that he didn't lose his head like his father. So he ended up being exiled to France, and he tried to regain the throne in 1690. But was unsuccessful. Here's one of his coins. It's a 2-pence piece, dated 1686. And here's the Roman numeral 2 on the back. And I don't think they did very good, the engraver did a very good job of this engraving this coin. And this eye here looks a little funky to me. Mm-hmm. So, but anyhow, here's this is James's coin. Now, when James went into exile, his sister, his daughter, excuse me, Mary, was an Anglican. She was not a Catholic, and she was already married, and her husband was named William of Orange, and he was Protestant. So they were given the throne by Parliament in 1688. Mary had married William at the age of 15 and was the heir presumptive when James II was given the throne. So when he was deposed, she was number 1 in line, so she became queen. And he was given co-regency with her. So it wasn't a case of she's the queen and he's just the queen consort, the king consort. He was given equal footing with her. So they served as joint monarchs. And so when she died of smallpox at the age of 32, he assumed the throne as William III. Oh. And here is one of their coins, a 4-pence of 1690. And maybe a little bit better job of engraving, but not great here. But you can see the nose. I think he's got the nose down. He's got a little crook in the nose here, from here, and her facial profile is probably pretty close to true to life there. But anyhow, when Mary died, William, her husband, William III, assumed the throne. A couple of years later, 2 years later, the Jacobites, who were the supporters of James II, who meanwhile had been exiled to France, they invaded and tried to restore, their favorite James to the throne, but they were unsuccessful in doing that. Now, William III did participate in the Maundy ceremonies, and he was the last monarch to perform the foot washing ceremony. Most of the previous monarchs had done that, maybe not every year, but at some point during their reign, they actually washed the feet of the peasants, of a number of peasants, before, while they, distributed the coins and the food and clothing. But James was on the throne for 8 years. He died without heir, and his sister-in-law Anne, who was Mary's sister, became queen at that time. Now, William, here's his coin, a 4-pence coin. You can see that they've now changed over to Arabic numerals of 1702. And here the nose, probably,
it looks flat.
Probably pretty close to what it was in real life. Now, Anne, of course, was the sister of Mary and the daughter of James II. She was a Protestant, so the Catholics have lost the battle of the religions in England at this point in time. She married Prince George of Denmark in 1683, which was almost 20 years before she became queen. And she was not in very good health. She actually tried to produce heirs. She was pregnant 17 times, but none of them survived. Either they were stillborn, died at birth, or died shortly after birth. But that's pretty astonishing. Pregnant 17 times and no surviving children. She was the last monarch of the House of Stuart, and because she had no heirs, she was succeeded by her second cousin, George I of the House of Hanover. Now, those of you who know history, Hanover is German. So this guy, George I, is coming in, and he's German. He's not even English, and doesn't even speak English very well. So he becomes the king of England. But anyhow, here's one of Anne's coins. Here again is a 4-pence coin of 1713, a year before she died. And I think they did a pretty good job of her. You can kind of tell that the nose is right, and she, the full cheeks, and the little hint of a double chin here. She's got it in both the picture and the coin. That's one of her coins. But anyhow, George III, he was the closest living Protestant relative of Queen Anne. Now, there were some Catholic relatives that were a little bit closer to her in as far as kinship was concerned, but they were passed over because they were Catholic and not Protestant. Because he was, because he was German, and because he wasn't completely up to speed on what was going on around him, his powers, the powers of the monarchy, were diminished during his reign. And Britain began the transition to a cabinet form of government, and also where the parliament and the prime minister had more political power. After a reign of 13 years, he died of a stroke when he was visiting his home in Germany at Hanover, and was buried there. He was the last British monarch to be buried outside of England. Here's one of his coins, another 4-pence, 1717. And I think they got the nose right. It's a little bit of a ski jump type nose here, without too much of a crook in it, and full jaws and lips there. So I think they got him pretty close. All right, so he gets he is succeeded by his son, George II. Now, George II is born outside of England, but he grew up mainly in England, so he spoke, English fine. He, was aware of what was going on around him. During his reign was the last of the Jacobite rebellions, and again, the Jacobites are the Catholic people who are trying to get James II's son put on the throne. James II has died at this point in time, but his son is still alive, and says, "Hey, I'm the rightful king." And they tried to, they landed. You may have heard of the term Bonnie Prince Charles. Well, Charles was the name of the son of James II, and he surreptitiously landed in Scotland along with several hundred supporters, and they of course followed a couple of battles, and they were routed, and that was the last that you heard of the Jacobites during this time period. But George did not participate in any of the Maundy ceremonies. So, well, who's holding the ceremonies now? Well, it's the the bishops and the archbishops and the head of the Anglican Church are the people who are holding the ceremonies. The coins are still given out, with the king's or the monarch's portrait, but the king is not participating actively in the ceremonies at this point in time. Now, George II had several children, but he outlived all of his children.
Wow.
So he was succeeded by his grandson, George III. Now, here is George II again, with a 2-pence piece of 1746. And I don't see the resemblance here between the coin and the person. I don't know, maybe a little bit in the cheeks and the chin, but this looks like kind of a generic person to me. Almost a cartoonish type figure. But anyhow, George III is the new king, and he was ascended to the throne at the age of 22. Now, he was on the throne during the American Revolution and also the Napoleonic Wars. However, he suffered from mental illness throughout his life, which got worse and worse as he got older. And the last 10 years of his reign, starting in 1810, his son, this says George III, but this should say George IV, was made Prince Regent in 1810. So his son was actually, running the show the last 10 years of George III's life. And he died in 1820, and George IV assumed the throne at that point in time. Now, George III was king for 60 years. That was the longest serving monarch up to that point in time. He had several different sets of Maundy coins, made 60 different year sets of Maundy coins, and his portrait changed on these coins over time. Here's a 1786 2-pence piece, and you can see this is a contemporary painting of him. Here is a 1800 dated 2-pence, and here is an 1817 dated 4-pence, and you can see this was 3 years before he died. And you can see the change in his portrait that point in up to then. So George IV succeeded his father. He was not a very good king. His reign was tarnished by scandal and financial extravagance, He ignored the Maundy ceremonies too. And his only legitimate child, Princess Charlotte, predeceased him in 1817. So when he died, he was succeeded by his younger brother, William IV. Now here's a coin of George IV, 1823. And I think they did a pretty good job of rendering his portrait. Whoever this engraver was did a good job. Now, William IV was 64 years of age when he assumed the throne. He had been serving in the Royal Navy and spent time in North America and the Caribbean. And his nickname was the Sailor King. And his reign was characterized by reforms on child labor, and he ended slavery in almost all of the colonies, and he made some changes in the electoral system. He had 10 illegitimate children by this actress that he lived with, named Dorothea Jordan, but he had no legitimate heirs when he died. And here's a coin of William IV, and I don't know, y'all make the call here. I maybe not. Here's the double chin down here, so I guess maybe you could say, but he looks like he's got a more prominent chin in this portrait than he does here on this coin.
Yeah.
All right, so when William dies, Victoria assumes the throne. William has no heirs. Victoria is his niece. And so when her uncle dies, she's 18 years of age. Her father and her 3 uncles, who were in succession ahead of her, had already died, and they had no surviving legitimate children. So she's the next in line for the throne. And of course, she is on the throne for a long time, 64 years, longer than George III. And she was a popular monarch. She became a national icon, and she had strict standards, or at least the public believes she had strict standards of personal morality. She married her first cousin, Prince Albert of Germany. Now here's another German connection in 1840. And up until present day, she was the longest serving monarch until Queen Elizabeth surpassed her recently. And Victoria was on the throne long enough to have several coins, several different portraits on her coins. So here's an 1856 4-pence. And that's pretty close, I think. Here's an 1889. Now, when she served at her 50th anniversary of being queen, they came out with a new portrait on the coins. This was called the Jubilee head, and she's got this crown on. So in 1887 is when they started putting this particular portrait on the coins. And here's a contemporaneous picture of her with that, and I think that's spot on there.
Mm-hmm.
And here is what's called the matron head, which came in the 1890s and was on there until she died in 1901. And I think this is pretty close here too. Now, when she died, her eldest son, Edward, took the name Edward VII. Now, he was actually called, his name was actually Albert.
Thank you.
He was named after his father. And his real name was Albert, and his mother called him Bertie, and that name was taken up by the whole country, knew him as Bertie. So at the age of 60, he became king, In 1860, he led popular tours of North America, and in 1875, India. This was kind of like the Prince William, and Kate. Remember, they took a tour of, where did they go? Australia or South Africa or something. As eventual heir to the throne. So, they were making these tours, 150 years ago. He did take an interest in public life and the Maundy ceremonies, but he died in 1910 after only 9 years as king. So in 1906, here's his silver 4p. And I think that's a pretty close portrait there on the coin. So he was succeeded by his second son. His first son had died before 1910. So his second son succeeded him as George V. He was king during World War I, and and he saw the empires of his cousins, Nicholas II of Russia, who was his cousin, and Wilhelm II of Germany, the downfall of those empires. And because of anti-German sentiment that was widespread during World War I, he renamed his house the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, which was his grandfather's house. Remember, Prince Albert was from Germany. He renamed it House of Windsor because Windsor does not sound German. So that's how we got the House of Windsor, like, the Duke of Windsor, and Prince Charles is called, the Duke of Windsor. That's how that name came to be. But George V regularly attended the Maundy ceremony, accompanied by his granddaughter Elizabeth, who would become queen eventually. But anyhow, here is his 4p coin, 1911, and I think that's pretty close approximation of him there. Now we have the abdicating king, Edward VIII. He was the eldest son of George V. He was only king for not even a full year. He was ascended to the throne in January of 1936 and had abdicated by December of that year to marry divorcee from America named Wallace Simpson. And after he abdicated, they traveled around Europe for a while, and then they came back to America and lived for a while. And so they were back and forth between Europe and America. He did come back to England about 10 or 12 years later to try to reconcile with his family and with the English people, but they didn't want anything to do with him. So I think they ended up going back to America and live there or in Europe for the rest of their lives. No official coinage was produced with his portrait. There were some pattern coins that were made with his portrait, and there may have been a coin or two from one of the colonies with his name on it. I'm not sure if they had his portrait on it or not, but no British coins were ever produced and issued into circulation with his portrait. So what coins were given away at the Maundy ceremony in 1936 when he was king? There was a ceremony at Easter that year, and he was king, but the coins had his father's portrait on them, not his. So when he abdicated, his brother, younger brother, George VI, became king. He was actually named Albert, also after his great-grandfather, and was also known as Bertie to his friends and family. But he took the name George VI when he became king. He was the monarch during World War II. He did not regularly attend Maundy ceremonies. and he was succeeded by his daughter, Queen Elizabeth, in 1952. And here's his coin that was distributed in 1943 at the ceremony. And here he is, and I think that's a pretty close portrait there for him.
He was the stuttering king.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the stuttering king, had a lot of problems with making speeches, and that's probably why he's tended to shy away from public ceremonies. Okay, Queen Elizabeth, present reigning monarch, was the oldest daughter of George VI. She was 25 years old when she took the throne in 1952, oldest and longest reigning British monarch. And she made the Maundy ceremony one of her top priorities and has attended all but 5 in the 68 years of her reign. 2 of those occurring just earlier this month and last year during the time of the pandemic. And here's her coin from the year 2000, 4 pence. And you can see, I don't think this is a very good portrait of her, if you ask me. But we all have known this coin. This was, coins that were produced in Canada and all across the British Empire. The interesting thing is that, she's been sitting on the throne for 68 years. All of her Maundy coinage still has this early portrait of her. She has, even though the regular coinage has gone through 3 or 4 different renderings of her portrait, the Maundy coinage still has this young head. Here she is in 2018, giving out her red and white pouches. Now, Maundy coins on the market. You're probably wondering, well, what kind of a secondary market, do these coins have? Well, if you go on eBay, you can find hundreds of coins for sale, hundreds of sets. The older sets command prices of $1,000 and up. Some of the first sets, Charles II, maybe get close to $2,000, but they can be had. The newer sets range from $200 to $500. You can find single coins on sale for as little as $40 or $50. But I would caution you that of these 4 coins, 3 of them were only produced for the Maundy sets: the 1 pence, 2 pence, and the 4 pence. The 3 pence coins were also produced for regular circulation, and it's hard to tell a 3 pence Maundy coin from a 3 pence regular circulating coin. So if you go on eBay and you see a 3 pence coin for $50 and it says Maundy coin, it may or may not really be a coin from a Maundy set. Now, if you buy a 4-piece set and it has a 3 pence in there, you can't say with 100% certainty that it's a real Maundy coin, but the chances are that it is. But if you just see a single coin, that says it's a Maundy coin, I would take that with a really big grain of salt.
What's the non-Maundy coin sell for?
A non-Maundy coin of
3 pence.
Queen Victoria,
Yeah.
might sell for $20 or so, and in a really nice condition. If it's worn, it might sell for $3 or $4. So there's a big disparity there between the Maundy and the non-Maundy coins. So that's only for the 3 pence now, because these other 3 coins are by definition Maundy coins. These were not produced for circulation. Only the 3 pence was, and that didn't go back. That only goes back so far. I can't tell you when when this stops being a factor, but I do know And of course, silver 3-pence coins were not produced for Queen Elizabeth, for circulation, but for the monarchs, for Victoria, and some of the monarchs before her and a few after her, they did produce silver 3-pence coins for circulation. So you just have to look at the standard catalog and try to figure that out if you go to buy a 3-pence coin. The other interesting thing is that since 2008, the sets are only given to the specially chosen recipients, whereas for a number of years before 2008, the officials who took part in the ceremony also received Maundy sets. They weren't actually awarded them by the Queen because they weren't part of that part of the ceremony. They were just the people behind the scenes putting the ceremony together. They were given sets also, but they're no longer given sets since 2008. So that's created even scarcer coins after 2008 and after. So that's about it on the Maundy coins.
Very good.
That was awesome. I never knew about that.
Well, I've known about them for a good while, and I've got a couple of Maundy sets. I have a full set of Elizabeth's coins from like 1958, and I have a full set of Victoria from like 1890, and I have a partial set of Queen Victoria from 1886. It's missing a 1-pence coin, and I have a couple of 3-pence coins from earlier monarchs. But there again, those 3-pence coins, you don't know if it's a Maundy coin or if it's a regular circulation coin. There's no way of knowing. So they may or may not be Maundy coins, but the chances are that they are not.
Right. Are they all in silver?
Yes, all of the Maundy coins have always been produced in silver.
Gotcha.
No bronze at all.
Gotcha. Bronze or copper or nickel. Okay.
Right. No, they're all silver.
Okay. And
So,
did you get your sets, Tony, at coin shows or over eBay? How'd you get yours?
I didn't get them at eBay. I got them. In fact, I've had them a number of years. So I think some of them came in collections that I bought or I ran across them at a show. And I didn't pay very much for them. I think the most that I paid was $50 for a set.
Oh, okay.
Which, of course, in retrospect or at this point in time, I can't remember what the going rate for a set was at the time that I bought them, but I must have thought that was a pretty good price because, I don't normally go out seeking foreign coins. If I happen across them and they seem to be a good price to me, I'll pick them up, and that's probably what I did, for these.
Right. Cool.
Another thing that I meant to say earlier is that they were not always distributed in the little leather pouches. Some of the earlier monarchs had them in little hinged leather boxes, velvet lined boxes. You may have seen other coins or medals or something in similar boxes. They're small, thin, hinged boxes that are leather, out on the outside, and they have little indentations where the coins can fit into the velvet lining. Some of the earlier sets were handed out with those boxes, and they're kind of cool. And you can find some of those for sale on eBay too. A set with its original box, and that's kind of interesting. And one of my sets did come. One of the sets, I think it was for Victoria, came with an original box.
Wow. Cool. Yeah.
So that's it for the Maundy coins. Any questions?